working on force feedback gloves for quite a while now. They have been around for ages, since I think the Oculus Rift DK1. They have been experimenting with haptics, and they are based in Shenzhen. Again, it's like a tech capital of China. And I saw their stuff on Twitter. I was like, hey, can I, come over, check it out? They were familiar with the stuff I made. That's usually a lot easier to then, get your way in. But it was super chill. I got to try their haptic VR glove called Dexmo. And the Dexmo is pretty much a, let's say, exoskeleton, a claw that goes over your hands. And with that, you can feel almost everything. You can, feel the haptics of an object moving, but you can also grab it and feel its shape. So it's not just, hey, I feel the vibrations. No, I can also grab it and feel the shape. So the fingers, they align with the object itself. They adapt to what's going on. Next to that, you can also feel the surface of things. So if you have wood or stone, you can feel that it's more rocky or less. So it's an all-in-one package. And most of the gloves I tried before, like Manas and also a few others, they are very good at one thing. Well, with this, they're trying to not be good at one thing, but they're trying to
range.
They're going for the bigger picture. And I'm sure that most who see like this video now, they're like, why does this glove look so big? Why does it have a claw shape? Well, the thing is, the ones that you saw in Ready Player One, it's not a reality yet. It's pure CGI, of course. Manas is trying it and some others. But then you just go for one factor, and that is like, the grabbing motion, and then maybe feeling what's going on in your fingertips. But this one is doing everything.
Huh. Yeah, because they use that kind of exoskeleton to restrict the finger's movement, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's how they give you the feeling of simulating the shape of an object. And this is exactly like, and Zim's mentioned it before, where he's worried about wearing a glove like this that is going to give him like a saw type experience and rip his fingers off. But I think, something like this, I haven't tried anything like this before, and I'm very keen to try it out to see if this would translate well for like a game like Half-Life Alyx, although it probably unlikely ever get support. But that feeling of, can you replicate the feeling of a pistol grip with something like this realistically,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I find it even more interesting that there's like, you saw in the video with like the water drops.
It's awesome.
When the water drops are falling, like it moves your finger.
Yeah.
So it actually simulates like I don't think a water drop would move your finger, but you get the idea. Like what they're trying to insinuate is like that they can actually get that feedback into your finger, which I think is pretty cool though.
Yeah, it's amazing. You could feel it beating hard, and your fingers would pulse with, the motion.
Yeah.
You could play piano. And I should also highlight that this is mainly for enterprises.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
Although, if you watch the video that I published on my channel, we're talking about it coming to the gaming scene too. They want to, but the market right now is, of course, not suitable for that. But yeah, it's possible. And it's funny that you mentioned Half-Life, Alyx. There was this one prototype that he worked on that looks exactly like the glove she's wearing.
That's awesome. So it's like taped together and a bit sort of like hacked together sort of look. Yeah. It's funny when you mentioned holding the beating heart, I just had this vision in my mind of playing like a Mortal Kombat in VR, being like squatting and doing like a finish him, reaching into like Sub-Zero's chest and ripping out his heart and feeling it beating in my hand. That'd be amazing.
You're a sick individual, Mike.
I know.
Well, it could also work with Moss, where you can feel the beating heart of. So
right before you.
Wow.
Someone's been playing too much Asgards. Jesus.
Yeah.
Dang.
And in terms of like tracking, like how do they track the gloves? Do they use like Vive trackers or something?
Yeah, so they on the back of the Dexmo gloves, you can screw a Vive puck or a controller. You can also fit a mixed reality controller around your wrist and track it that way. Or a Move controller works too. PlayStation VR is supported as well. Quest controller, Index controllers you don't really need to use because you have the Vive puck, of course. So yeah, it's getting tracked that way. And the reason why is because right now there isn't much else in terms of how you can track gloves that are, let's say, easy and also global, where you can use all of the headsets. He did mention, the CEO of the company did mention that inside-out tracking is, of course, becoming more of the standard. So it could be that soon there will be a way to just use inside-out tracking and do it that way.
I do think that like the major thing that will probably hold it back in the gaming scene is just the size of it. It kind of looks just a little bit like, you know, like Freddy Krueger or like Edward Scissorhands a little bit, you know, like this like big clunky device in your hands, which will not be ideal if you want to like reload a gun or you need to do something with your both hands together. So I do think like reducing the overall size of it will be something.
That's something we have also been talking about. Why is it so big? This is the smallest they can go right now. Of course, they will improve and improve. If you look at the first one, it was already way bigger. It's just that this is the best way to go right now. And since the glove form is not really a thing yet and is not possible at the moment, this is the best you can do, as I said, to simulate everything, you know, because most gloves don't do all of this.
But I do think that like the potential of a technology like this is like, you know, beyond comprehension. Because imagine like from a teaching perspective, like you want to learn how to play the piano and actually sit on the piano and like construct something. Say like, okay, like this is how your fingers needs to be, and this is how you press the keys, and these are the keys you need to press. Now you could have that thing like just play the piano itself, or you're just, you know, learning it or trying to understand it, or like how to hold a golf stick, or how to, you know, there's so many things that you need to learn by exercise, by doing often. And technologies like this could help you perfection that kind of like.
And I got like, funnily enough, this was the best experience I ever had with gloves, because the difference between, let's say, the ones from Manus is that you're wearing a glove, and then you know you're wearing a glove because you feel it, you feel the texture. But with Dexmo, only your fingertips are attached to this exoskeleton, and then also a strap that goes over your palm of your hand. But that's it. So you feel way more free. You feel way more like you're using your actual hands, because there is not that much machinery attached to your hand. And since it looks very big, but it's very light, you like instantly start to, you know, get used to it, and you're like, wow, I'm using my hands. You don't feel the claw over your hands. But that's why this design is like that, because it's going outside of your hands instead of trying to wrap things around your hand.
The videography you've done here in this set of clips is excellent, really good, and it's hugely appetizing to see this. I mean, if our audio listeners, obviously you can't see the gloves we're talking about, but they have a real sleek plasticine kind of look to them, in a way that this is probably the first set of gloves that doesn't scare me in terms of its look. They also don't look like overly strong. Some of the others have been quite like they were built in a heavy metal factory or something, and, you know, look like some of the actuators could do you damage. These look quite delicate, almost.
They are, and the design, they remind me personally of like things that came out of like Aperture Science Lab.
Yeah.
And like first that wasn't a thing, you know. He started off with these very basic steampunk looking gloves, and he went from there to a more, it looks like more like a finished product that looks more appealing than others I've seen, like Haptic, for example. It's a bit daunting, you know, compared to these. So yeah, you're right. I think design wise, even that's not even a necessary thing yet to have. I think he nailed it.
Yeah, like I have no idea like if this will replace controllers in the long term, because I think we love having thumbsticks, we love having buttons, but I guess to break free from all that, using something like this would require a whole redesign in UI and how we navigate UI and use UI in games. Like it would have to be much smarter to incorporate these gloves. But I am super excited about trying it one day.
We saw it already with the you know, you remember like everybody remembers like the 6th Sense controllers, and everyone's like, oh, it's not going to work because, you know, you need this and this and that, and games are not optimized for that. But then you see the technology evolving, and you see games being developed with that in mind, and eventually it just like snowballs into like this virtual reality kind of stuff that we have now.
Yeah, like force feedback gloves are something you don't see that much. You know, most of the gloves we have seen are just haptic gloves with like a little bit of vibration in the fingertips, but that's just kind of a simulated thing. The coolest part about this company, about Dexta Robotics, is that they got a funding from a company who also makes parts for DJI. So parts of that are also getting used in drones.
Not a
And
surprise. Light and strong.
yeah, so they have a good funding thing going on there.
Yeah.
And also something that I should definitely say is that the founder, he made this all from scratch. He came up with the idea to make these gloves. He has been working on it for years, came up with his own blueprint. It's one of the first of its kind. Of course, there is now Tesla Suit, who's also gonna try to break through the market. But the question is when they are going to show something that comes close to this and that also works, because they announced it at CES, right? But they haven't showed one that is working yet. Just like we saw with Vive Cosmos, more of a shell than. So I would love to try that one as well. But for now, this is what Dexmo is doing, Dexta.
Yeah. It's interesting that there's a few people coming to market with similar products. So it's clearly a sign that, we're evolving slowly, of course, and of course it will take even longer to drip down to consumer level. But it's always exciting when you see these business applications coming in, because it is just a sign of what is to come for us eventually.
This is like an OG company. They were at one of the first Oculus Connects showing what they had in store, and seeing where they came from and where they are now with this. It's very very impressive. And they are at some trade shows. They were at CES, and so keep your eyes open. Maybe you can try it somewhere. But again, this is for enterprise only. You could send them an email and you could buy them. But again, it's for enterprise only.
But I'm just curious about this. Like in terms of enterprise, what is their target market? Like who are they? What sector are they going after? Is this for education? Is it for medicine? I saw obviously so tear the beating heart out, Mike.
So we're talking about like healthcare surgery. We're talking about robotics, where you, for example, have cars that you need to build, and it's for training, mainly for training, where people can learn how to use that stuff. And what these gloves can do is they can also simulate an actual robot hand. Like he had a robot hand there, so I was using my hand with the Dexmo gloves, and then this robot hand was doing the same gesture. So you could not only use it for VR trainings, but also for real ones. And that way you can, educate people before they start, doing the real work without really, destroying anything, because that's usually the problem with doing trainings.
And in terms of your experience, do you kind of see the future of this being used across the board as gamers, like for a game like Half-Life, for example? Like, could they replicate that feeling of holding a gun, which is probably one of the most important aspects, I would say, in terms of gaming right now, is that gun feeling? Do you think it's possible?
It's hard to say. I think for now, as you said, thumbsticks and that kind of stuff is like the way forward. It could, but right now it's so early. It's so early to say that. But there are certain things that I did where I was feeling the water, and I was turning the drain and stuff, and it really felt like I was doing it. And if you could have that in a game, amazing.
For me,
sure.
Doorknobs would be it. Like I would want to see just turning a doorknob and pushing the door and feeling the slight resistance of the door as you push it. That, like in a horror game, if you're walking through a horror game, right, with this thing on your hands.
They have a horror game, by the way. They have a horror experience that you can play. Yeah, it's like they have been messing around a little. You can even fly a drone, a DJI drone. You have to put the controller together itself with the little thumbsticks on them, and you have to flap them open, stuff like that. They have been messing around a little. So they're also, if you look at my video, we're sitting at these stuffed animals. So they're also very playful in what they are doing. I haven't seen that many companies that are, serious about what they are doing, but they're also, you can just be who you want to be, and you can just, have your collection on the table. Like this guy, like his collection, like at the front door, he had like a go-kart. He had like this NASA thing. He had like old cloths from back in the days. It was like this factory of like imagination, and it also felt like that. He was very he was very passionate about the things he was doing.
It sounds like an eccentric type character, a bit like a Willy Wonka of VR almost, you know.
In a positive way, yeah.
Like a mad inventor, you know.
Mechatronics and stuff.
Yeah.
I just think it's funny because, Mike, you were talking about, leaps that we have to go from like this point forward. And I still think that like the way that Oculus are going with the hand tracking is really important. And I love this concept of having, like what Nathi was describing, the gloveless experience where the actual interface is minimized in terms of its contact with your skin. That's really a smart design to me, because you're going to be more and more immersed. And I'm sure Ratty would kick in here and say, like, these are the controllers that you're used to. That's obviously where we have to get to. And whatever bridge is going to...
What you would want is as much skin contact as possible, of course, because the more skin contact you have, the more different kind of places you can simulate experiences on as well.
I'd almost like gloves that were just out of contact, that come into contact. And you have that option. Not that your hand is covered, that you actually generate the sense of contact through a tiny, millimeter off the skin movement of that glove. That would be really cool to see.
Yeah, we've got a really great question in the chat actually from Dr. Engrish, and he says, with the ability to feel an object but with no stationary resistance for objects like walls or doors, do these gloves throw off your senses? So I would imagine what he's trying to describe there is that you would have to extend it even further to have resistance then for your arm and other joints on your body. So although the gloves is like the first step, imagine this like body scale suit exoskeleton that resists your arm, legs, and other sort of movements as well. That would be really next level, I guess.
Yeah, and like the thing is that I'm sure someone is going to experiment with that. Like when I tried them, it's not like you feel the force, but it's not like they're so strong that they become dangerous. It's still, you still have more control. I think they can. I think they could have. Of course, they have been testing with that to have them stronger in terms of like. But what I tried is like still a little bit of like, because you have to, otherwise you break someone's fingers indeed, or something else happens. But yeah, the fact that it's only attached to your tips, and of course the palm of your hand is just super immersive, and it feels more like where we want to go, and that is just using our actual hands to play around with stuff in VR.
Nice.